All right, so we're going to be talking about business resources. Now, the title of this class is Factors of Production. Okay, because this is an introduction to the idea of business resources. Okay, first off, a little exercise for you guys to do. Right, I want you to take a page or do it on the screen, whatever. But I want you to draw a picture that illustrates what you understand production to mean. Okay, so we've kind of done this exercise before. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Can you draw a picture of production, what production means to you? Is that okay? Esther? Oh, Esther's gone. Okay, we lost Esther. Did we lose Esther? Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully she'll come. So there we got inputs, production control outputs. You know, I think this is a really useful diagram because we're going to be talking about this exact process shortly. And it's this idea that, you know, production is about taking inputs, adding value in some way or other to create outputs. So that's pretty much on point. Let me show you pictures we've had from others in the past. Obviously, there's this engineering type of scenario here. We've got the application of tools and inputs to making a chair, so inputs into making a product. We've got people working on a production line. We've got a series of production lines here. I'm not sure what the top one is. Second one is cars. Oh, yeah, it's a car production line, so level 1, level 2, level 3. We have forestry, you know, trees growing, being cut down, being processed into stuff that comes out the other end. Hi, Yenru. What I was asking people to do was to draw production, okay? So if you got a chance just to draw production and send it to me, even if it's after the class, that's fine. So we had this from Rana. We lost Esther, so hopefully she'll be back. So I'm just showing you some other examples that we've had from other people in the past, various other pictures and so on. Okay, so my point is, the point is that this is going to be core to this input, you know, something in the middle here, production control you have, or operations, or manufacturing, or just processing, leading to outputs. Okay, the reason I think this is important is that all of this is relevant to the topic, which is business resources, as raising the question as to, well, what does it take to do that? What does it take? So, yeah, you've got the equipment, you've got the technology, I guess, and you have to have a whole lot of other things, including the people. So this is mission control at SpaceX. You see this guy here is wearing an F9, which is a Falcon 9 t-shirt. But this is a lot different to the old pictures of NASA's mission control, partly because we're in a new age and everything is electronic and digital, and which probably means that there's more systems, but less people are required. So this is mission control for SpaceX, and it's just in an ordinary sort of office building room. But they're able to do pretty incredible things. So our focus with this module is, well, what does it take to do that? And what are the resource requirements to do that? So that's what we're concerned about. If you think about any business, whether it's Tesla, whether it's SpaceX, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Apple, whether it's, who's come up with a new product recently, whether it's something online like Google, right? Or Facebook, or TikTok. What does it take to build that business and to operate that business? What does it take to deliver the services or the products that are the output from those businesses? What does it take? That's what we're concerned about. So what I'd like to do then is let's think about that for a minute. What does it take to set up a business? What do you need to set up a business? Money. Hi, Esther, you're back. Money. Products. Okay. What else? Licenses. Okay, that's an interesting one. As in driving licenses are. What do you think? Because I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. So it's a really good one to put in there. What sort of licenses, Esther? Any ideas? Well, think about it. It's like if we talk about licenses, what we could be talking about is um, like patents, um, copyright. What we're talking about is intellectual property. Now, that's a really important concept. And the idea is if I invent a new product and I'm introducing it to the market, I'm making it, but I want to expand my business and I don't have the capability, I might license it to other people who will make it as well and sell it. And they'll make money doing it, but they'll also pay me a license fee. And that's another way for us to make money, is that if we figure out a way and we secure the intellectual property, the intellectual property is the idea, the innovation, if you like. As a patent, if it's a product or a process, copyright if it's a brand, or sorry, it's content, or trademark if it's like the we'd use trademarks so that people can't copy them. So Coca-Cola doesn't let anybody else use the word Coke or Coca-Cola, or the little swoosh thing symbol. Who else? Apple, I suppose. Apple will trademark the little Apple thing on the back of little Apple logo on the back of their products and so on. So licensing is a good one, right? What else? What else do we need? We need money. We need products. What do we need to make the products? Apart from maybe licenses. What do we need? Yes, really important. People. Yeah. And what else? Yenru, Rana, what else do we need? I mean, we could put under the license and intellectual property, we could say designs or specifications. Specifications or, yeah, that type of stuff. But what else do we need? We need people, yeah. And what do people use? What do they use? Where? So you're looking at me, they use business plans, yeah, so business plans are important, but you're looking at me and you're looking at the slides on the screen, aren't you? Where did you get it? And who built it? Well, we know who built it, somebody built it. What did they use to build it? To make it? If you look at me on a laptop, there's a screen and a keyboard and other bits and pieces inside it, aren't there? So there are, one might call them sub-assemblies. We could talk about materials, couldn't we? Okay. We could talk about, and they probably used tools and equipment, right, to produce it. Maybe a production line, okay, like a conveyor belt. More, of course, they'll have used energy. Energy has been consumed, hasn't it? And probably, there are other things like insurances, right? Having some sort of property where they're based, except, of course, they could be working from home these days. So the point is that there's a whole range of different inputs, aren't there? So going back to your drawing, Rana, these inputs here, we think about all the inputs that go into something, right? That gives us the ability to actually produce something, okay? And if you take it a stage back further, it's to set up a business. You need these things, or a variation, or the capability of these things to help start a business, to start producing a product or a service, okay? Now, as we've talked before, of course, what's the one absolutely mandatory thing you do need? For any business? Probably your first class with me, I would have mentioned this. A problem, yeah, that's part of it too. The problem implies that somebody has a problem, doesn't it? And we have a solution, right? And what do we call them when we have that ability to give them their solution and they want the solution? What do we call them? What do we want them to be? Yeah, you're right, it is demand. We're looking for a paying customer, aren't we? Remember this? Yeah. Now, if we have a paying customer, right? If we have a paying customer, then we have I suppose, the reason and the rationale to do something, to put these things in place, okay? To create what I call the factors of production. Okay, so let's just look at another list which I prepared in previous class. Money, we had. Customers, we talked about. An idea, yes. I referred to there as an organizing principle, something that helps shape our activity. So it's not just that we simply buy a load of equipment, that there's some sort of organizing principle, which is the idea behind it, that we have a plan, you mentioned that. We have some sort of objective, we have productive capacity, okay, which is the machines or the equipment and the materials, and most importantly, the labor that we need to produce the product or service, okay? So we refer to these as the resources in the business, okay? So if we talk about the resources, the economic or productive factor required to accomplish an activity or as a means to undertake a business effectively, there are three main types: land, labor, and capital. Now, I don't think that that's actually good enough. They're the three most basic resources. And if you think back, land, because you needed to grow food, or you needed to harvest wood, or you needed to dig up minerals. Labor, because of course we need people to do the work. And capital, we have to be able to pay them, and we have to be able to establish a property on land, or to establish the productive capacity, the machinery, to buy the equipment, etc. So those are the three most basic. And historically, in economic history, I guess we would have looked at those things. But now we can add other resources to that. In today's world, we can add resources like energy. And we know how important energy is. Just look at what's happened as a result of the Russia war with Ukraine. That's had a huge impact on global energy prices, which we're certainly feeling here. Okay? We need entrepreneurship, I think, which is this idea to see the opportunity, to see the need, to recognize the need, to imagine the solution, and to figure out how to produce the solution to the problem. Okay, and that's very much a business skill set. Okay, more and more we need information, and we see that with the information, with computers and the metrics and the stats and everything else. We need expertise in management, and we need time. So we could talk about resources or productive factors in a number of different ways. Google Dictionary defines resources as a stock or supply of money, material, staff, or other assets, other things that can be drawn down or used by a person or organization to function effectively. So the resources are the things, the inputs that we use to do our stuff to create the outputs that we're selling on. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to focus on these resources in three ways. We're going to focus on business resources in terms of the human resources, the people, in terms of the technological resources, so the equipment or the production line or the materials. I don't mean materials just like sand or wood. I mean, a lot of the materials we use now are processed, which means we need that sort of extra piece with it, that extra bit of input and so on. And of course, the financial, the money. Okay, so we're going to be looking at those three resources primarily. Now we'll go into more detail on some of them, and those are going to come up in other modules as well. So for example, human resources, we're going to deal with recruitment and selection in a separate module. Okay, finance resources, well, we're going to be talking about finances at some point. I can't remember where that module is. Financial management or whatever. And technological, well, we will talk about business operations, which is where we think about how these things come together in terms of doing things, in terms of operations. So these are the three core resources that we need to look at over these 6 classes. Okay, and our next class is tomorrow, right? And then it's Monday, Tuesday. So we talk about these 3 resources in connection with this core process, which is kind of what you outlined, Rana. Inputs, business operations, and outputs. This, to me, is the core business process. This is the core description of what we do in any business. Okay? So if we talk about a restaurant, what's the outputs in a restaurant? What are the outputs for a restaurant? Product of food, yeah, okay. What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite food? Come on, go on. Who's got a favorite? No. Oh, is it pizza? Yeah, not pizza. Pizza's junk food, right? I mean, it's nice, but it's junk food. What about roast chicken? That'd be kind of an Irish thing. Well, roast beef or roast chicken. Personally, I think chicken with cashew nuts Yeah, with some fried rice. Yeah, that works for me. Um, but the reality is we go to restaurants, don't we? And we go to restaurants we like. And what we're buying is, well, are we buying food, do you think? Is that what we're buying in a restaurant? Yenru, what are you buying if you go to a restaurant? Pasta. Okay, okay, pasta. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking spaghetti carbonara. Yeah, yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Okay, okay. But what are you really buying though? Esther, what are you really buying when you go? Services? Yeah, that's one way. Yeah, that's another aspect to it. I think what I do when I'm well, you know what? It depends. It depends on the restaurant and it depends on the day and the circumstances. Let's be honest. If I'm going to McDonald's and I'm buying my lunch in McDonald's, I'm not really going for the healthy option, am I? I'm going for the convenience, haven't I? I'm going for the McDonald's, salt it and you know, the McDonald's, the Big Mac taste that thing McDonald's have, right? I know it's not really good food. I don't do it very often, but every now and then I have a guilty pleasure. Okay. Whereas if I go to my favorite restaurant or to a local restaurant that I go to a lot, I'm not just looking for the food or the service. Sure, I'm not. I'm actually looking for and looking forward to the experience. Like if I don't go, we don't go to a restaurant. We don't go back to a restaurant looking just to make do. We don't go back to a restaurant thinking, oh, I don't really like this, but I'm going to go anyway. We don't do that. We go because, you know what? I'd love some of that. I'd really like some of this. I enjoy eating this food or I enjoy eating that food. Don't we? Isn't that the way it works? So we're actually looking for the output for us is it can be some variation, like I said, it could be McDonald's, it could be quick, easy access to calories, it could be spending time with somebody else, enjoying food, it could be some taste or some nice treat that I like. Do you get the idea? Now, the output, it may come in a box or a plate or in a bowl with chopsticks or with a knife and fork. It could be brought out by excellent staff who, put down the little serviette and they bring out your dinner and they give you this and they give you that and they're hovering, looking to, do you want paprika on it? Do you want this on it? Do you want salt? It could be that you collect it and take it away as a takeaway. It could be that you just love the restaurant, the ambience, the sort of sense in the restaurant that it's quiet, it's calm, it's discreet, or maybe it's loud. Maybe you want something loud with lots of people around, but those are parts of the outputs, aren't they? As well as the food that's the central part of this. Does that make sense? Yeah. And in any of those situations, those key factors of production that we talked about, um, those key factors of production are, well, the materials, obviously, the productive operations, the equipment and so on. Well, at the very least, we're talking about probably a fridge. We're talking about a burner or a hob or some sort of stove. We're probably talking about an oven as well. We're talking about utensils and bowls and dishes and pots. We're talking about, in terms of consumables, we're talking about the food, the raw ingredients, the onions, the vegetables, the meat if it's meat, the rice, pasta for you, Yenru, the oil, like the rapeseed oil or the olive oil or what you guys cook with oil, right? Don't you use oil? A little bit of oil. So vegetable oil, yeah. So yeah, I use olive oil mostly. Um, a little bit of oil, right? A bit of water potentially as well. So maybe some of the the spicy stuff, the salts, the cinnamon, the ground peppers, the whatever. All those things are part of the mix. So they're all part of the materials. And of course, there's the people. There's the chef, the commis chef, the waiters, the waitresses, the other people who work in the restaurant, the dishwashers. Like they're all part of the picture, aren't they? They're all part of the productive operation. They're all the key resources that are brought to bear, the inputs that are brought to bear in some sort of organized fashion, aren't they? I mean, it doesn't just happen. There has to be a boss, there's a leader, there's a process. So they don't go start cooking food without getting an order for it, without having sat down and say, well, here's the menu for today. Well, that's McDonald's wants the same menu every day. Here's the menu, and somebody orders this, and they order that, and they order this, and that's what we make and what we deliver in the way that we do. Okay, so that's what our core business is about. And our interest right now is, well, what are those inputs that help this to happen? So it is things like people, but it's not all the same. It's different people with different skills and capabilities. It's about a range of different physical assets and resources. It's about technology. It's about the money that we invest in the process, in establishing the process and establishing the business and the operation. It's about the management or the leadership that we bring to bear and the skills that we hire, okay? It's all of those things. And then how we run them is our operations piece. Our business operations is how we decide to set up and organize and apply those resources. So that's what we're trying to figure out here, okay? So let's look at an example. So this is, that's a slightly older version, but it's a print job, okay? So if you think about it, in the print job, let's say for this restaurant where we're opening up, we want menus or we want flyers that we're going to print up to put through the letterbox in 10,000 homes around the area where we live to make people aware that we're opening up a new Irish restaurant in Kuala Lumpur or Jakarta or whatever. Okay. Not that you want an Irish restaurant. Irish food is not as good as Asian food, trust me. So in this print job, what might happen is, first off, we have somebody who works with us to figure out what we want and to create a design, a blueprint. Isn't that right? Like, we don't just go straight to printing. We have to have something to print. So we need to know exactly what we're printing, what it has to say, what it should look like, what colors, etc. So we have some sort of graphic designer here who will work on the job, who will work with us to figure out, okay, you want a menu here, what do you want it to look like, what name do you want to put on it, what are the dishes you want to put on, what pricing do you want to put on it, what font do you want to use, how do you want to make it look young and bubbly or serious and reserved or what? Okay, so we work with a graphic designer. Out of that process, and this is where it will slightly change now, depending on the level of equipment we have. So we may well produce a printing plate. Out of that, you will sign off on the design, what we want. It will be converted into a printing plate, which will then be put on a big printing machine. So this is a 4-color printer machine. And the idea behind a 4-color printing machine is it prints every color, right? Because it uses gradients of each of them. Okay, so this is a full color machine basically, and it will have a plate for each color, right? Each of the primary colors that are involved, so that it can lay down one color on top of another, and it can leave gaps, etc. as well. So that's what we're looking for here. We're looking to produce a plate which will be used on the equipment, which will then be used to print loads of these copies. They will go through a finishing process. Maybe if we're talking about like a booklet, it might be collated into, so it's got a number of pages. It might be cut into different sizes. It might be folded for pushing through a letterbox, whatever. There'll be some sort of finishing station, and then the handing over of a finished product to the customer. Here's one. Is that you okay with that? Well, here's the rest of them now. So that's our piece done. We've done all of this work, and now it's over to you to do what you want with the output. Okay, so that might be a standard operation for a printing business. Okay, if you think about the inputs into this, well, one of them, of course, is the skills, is the people side, the skills and the knowledge and the attitude in at different stages. And of course, we can add equipment to that. We can see the equipment. We can see the computer here. You can see the big, massive printing machine here. You can see some other machine here. You can see these collating machines. So I've been in print factories, and you know, there's a lot of this big, heavy equipment involved. Right? It's a serious investment. But if you get good equipment and you maintain it, you can achieve an awful lot. So these are the inputs, the resources of the business. Okay. So when we talk about this, when we talk about resourcing the organization, what we're really trying to figure out is to understand this core process, this input, business operations, and outputs piece. It's not that we buy or we talk about the resources at the outputs level, but we need to understand what the outputs are so that we can understand what needs to be done and therefore what input resources we need. Right? That's the game we're playing. So if we're talking about, an output of finished goods or services, well, that has implications for what we do. If we're talking about finished goods, we need a production facility. We need a facility where we can do things and have a finished product. Another example might be a florist. You know what a florist is? What does a florist do? Let me see if I actually have output here from a florist. Hang on 1 second. I don't have any. What do the florists do? If they sell flowers, you're right, Rana. So this is the closest I have, okay? Which is an amaryllis plant, okay? But you're right, they sell flowers. Now, and a florist will do different. So they might sell plants, yeah, but that might be more a garden store. But a florist will sell like a bouquet of flowers. But what's coming up in a couple of weeks? What really important day? Actually, is next week for florists. That's right, Rana. Well done, well done. So, do you guys expect to be on the receiving end? Or to be involved? See, yeah, it's only Valentine's Day, so that means, it's buying or it's giving or getting, isn't it? Okay, so florists are going to be very, very busy. They'll be ordering in lots of roses, won't they? Lots of nice flowers for bouquets, won't they? And they'll be taking orders from a couple of days out. And of course, there'll be lots of guys like me who remember at the last minute, oh, I better do something. Isn't that right? Yeah. Okay. But the florists, they will have to deal with this. They will have to, so what do the florists have to do? They'll have to have the flowers on hand, won't they? Not to get extra flowers in. They'll have to have the wraps on the boxes, on the little bags and the plastic stuff and the cards and the little food pouches that they might put with the stuff. So if I order, a dozen yellow roses, or red roses or whatever color roses, that I'm going to get nice roses in a nice bouquet to get me out of trouble when I get home, haven't I? So the outputs, so what are the outputs? The outputs aren't just the roses. The outputs, what I'm really buying, if you think about it, what I'm buying and looking to give is a symbol of my affection, right? To curry favor, to make an impression, to do something nice for somebody, right? To bring a smile to somebody's face, haven't I? To make somebody feel loved, right? And the florist helps me by doing that, by picking the right flowers, assembling them, and giving me that ability for a price, right? Which means that they need some help on the day, don't they? Because, I'm going to be buying these flowers on the 13th or the 14th. I'm not going to be buying them on the 15th. That's too late. I'm in trouble at that stage. But they're going to need a couple of extra hands in the store to help out that day, because it's always going to be one of the biggest days of the year. And so they're going to need the supplies, they're going to need the space, they're going to need a bit of water, they're going to need buckets, etc., 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 aren't they? Right. So that's what we're dealing with. So our job when we look at this module is to consider all of that, and to know how human resources are managed. So we're going to start off tomorrow by talking about the human resources aspect. So how do we select employees, and how do we go through that process? What are we really looking for? We also then want to talk about the managing of physical and technological resources. So we're into the technology age now, so it's much more about technology and systems, not just a hammer or a screwdriver or a saw. It's about technology and physical resources. And of course, the third wave of this is the finance. How do we get the money to pay for it? And what does that cost us? And how do we manage it? So, and associated with that is starting to appreciate that the way we look at business is through the numbers, by looking at the financial statements, by looking at the accounts and the financial reports. So that's what we're going to be covering in this module. You need to be able to describe how we deal with these resources. You need to know what they are, and you need to be able to describe how we deal with them and what are some of the challenges. Is that okay? Yeah? Any questions? Any concerns? No? Okay, so I will see you tomorrow, and we will talk some more about this. We'll get into section 2, which, as I said, is all about people, and we'll take it from there. All right? Thanks very much, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you.